Welcome to the first review episode of Just One More Fix. This is James. With me in this episode is Lacey.
Hey.
You can find us online at justonemorefix.com or on Twitter at justonemorefix. If you like us, head over to iTunes or to Google Play and give us a rating and a comment. In this episode, we're going to review No Thank You Evil. And now, it's time to get our review fix. Welcome to Just One More Fix. Today, no announcements, but we are going to be our first review of Monty Cook's No Thank You Evil.
Yay!
So, No Thank You Evil is a game that premiered at Gen Con this year, being 2016. We saw it, and the box is really pretty, so we picked it up. Just based on the fact that Monty Cook makes really good games.
Well, there was an extra factor for me. This game won an ENnie Award, so I had walked by it, and then I saw it at the ENnie Award booth and was like, okay, all right, I guess I'm in.
Right. If you haven't heard of No Thank You Evil, it'll be linked in the show notes, so go ahead and click there and check it out. Also, they have a Kickstarter dropping within a day or two of this podcast, or it may already be started by the time this podcast drops, but they're going to be doing a Kickstarter to add some more cards and things to the game and just another sort of expansion to it. So I'll link that in the show notes as well, and you guys can check that out. So what No Thank You Evil is, it's a role-playing game for young kids, basically. It says from ages
5 to infinity, folks.
Yeah, 5 to infinity. So take it to the nursing home if you need to, I suppose. And I can vouch for the 5 to infinity, as I am not quite that old, but our youngest is 5, and we have played it several times with our 5, 6, and 10-year-old all at the same time, and it's been really good. So the game comes in a box like the old school 2nd edition, 1st edition, box sets. Go ahead and open it up. So it's produced by Monty Cook Games, and it's really high quality production. It comes with 5 custom D6s. They are essentially regular D6s, but the number 6 on the dice is a custom logo. It comes with several character sheets, a small rule book, and another small
cipher cards.
Yeah, another small rule book, or another small book that has some pre-made adventures with it,
and some tokens,
and a lot of tokens. And what else?
I think that's it.
I'm digging through the box if you can hear it right now. So.
And a plastic insert.
Yeah. And there's several different cards that go along it basically as game mates to make the game function easier. Something that is interesting about the game is that it has 3 levels of complexity depending on the age of your players, which is nice because in our house we have, like I said, 10, 6, and 5. So the game scales at the table depending on the age and maturity or gaming experience of the players. And they can all play at the same time. So it's not like you all have to play the most basic character or the most advanced character. You can have a mix of the characters at the table.
And the complexity is kind of built in on the character sheet by adding additional details to your character. So, for example, we have at complexity level 1, we have Emmett is a guy. Complexity level 2, Emmett is a Lego guy. And at the final level of complexity, Emmett is a Lego guy who builds. And then there's a lovely little section for you to draw your character, which is always fun when you're dealing in the 5-year-old age range.
So it comes with a custom setting that's put together. The artwork in it is awesome. It's very well tailored to catch the eyes of young kids and to draw them in to keep them interested in it, which I feel like...
So lots of graphics, lots of colors. I would like to point out that on the front of the box is an excellent mix of diversity.
So physically, it's a very high quality production value. It's very nice. It fits easily in the box, and it's a sturdy, a board game box, that's been banged around and moved here and there, and it's held up very well. It's still in great shape for us, actually. The setting that comes with it, it's basically you have a bedroom where your character lives, and they have access to 4 different worlds: into the closet, under the bed, behind the bookshelf, and out the window. So all of them have different themes. One of them is more spooky. That's the one that's under the bed, of course. And then there's some that's more fantasy, more wild. So each of them has their own theme. And inside the setting book, it also has key characters and key features Yeah, key features of that particular section of the world or whatever. Yeah, we've played all 3 or 4. It comes with 4 pre-made adventures, and we've played through 3 of the 4, and they're very well put together. It's a lot of fun. It's easy stuff, especially for introducing your kids to role-playing.
The basic pre-made scenario can run in about 30 minutes. So I know we've run it before. In the amount of time it takes me to cook dinner and get it on the table, the kids have enjoyed a game at the table while they're waiting. So
Right.
you can adjust it up from there as far as level of detail goes. But
Yeah, if you're
it doesn't have to be a 4-hour endeavor with your young children.
Right. The adventures, I feel like they scale pretty easily if you want to draw them out and make them a little more longer and have more detail, or if you want to move them along faster. In case you do have some younger ones that need to be sort of pushed through to keep things moving along and interesting. The system is very straightforward. You have 4 basic attributes, and what makes it easy is each of the attributes is sort of like a resource pool, and they can give you a +1 to your die roll. But what's nice is you have the number written down, but there are tokens that you put on your character sheet. So you don't have to worry about if you have somebody who's 5 and, not so good at math, or whatever, they don't have to constantly do the math. They can just get rid of a token, and it makes it much faster and much easier.
There's also a stat called Awesome, which is nice because it encourages player cooperation. So when they don't succeed at a task, they can only add 1 to that. And then at that point, other players have to join in and use their Awesome to help them.
Right. So
it's got that built-in cooperation factor.
Right. They just describe how it is that they're going to help the other character, spend a point of Awesome, and it gives them an additional +1. And that's not limited to 1. Everybody chips in or can chip in. In fact, most of the scenarios, the end, it's built-in teamwork so that the final task to complete the mission and to discover the treasure or beat the bad guy requires everyone to work together to successfully complete the mission.
And if you only have a limited number, it's not that it's good with that also because each character is given a companion. So that adds another level of kind of fun to the game. So they get like basically a familiar, but it can be anything from a robot to a squirrel to a spider. Yeah. I mean, just anything you can think of. They can have this companion that has an extra ability that they can use to help them along the way. So if it's just you and you've got 1 kid at home, it works for that as well. And
the companions scale in complexity with the game as well. And when I say scale in complexity, it's very simple. I will say there are you can refresh your pools if you exhaust any of them. There's another resource called Fun that you can expend to refill your pools. Like I said, we've played through all three sessions, and I didn't really pull any punches, but I wasn't really going after anybody either. And we never had anyone who was in any danger of nearly being defeated or whatever. But it's not that kind of a game either. It's not like your character is gonna get rendered in 2 or something. So it's very kid friendly, a lot of fun. And there's something else to mention is the characters that you make, they don't have to be anything specific. You can make them anything you want. So in the game with our kids, we have a Lego man, Ant-Man,
Warrior Princess,
and a Warrior Princess,
and a Ninja Badger.
Yeah. So it's very freeform, very easy. It's built to have fun and to introduce them to role-playing games.
You have the dice and everything there to use in the stats, but it's definitely much more about a storytelling dynamic.
Right. Well, I guess we should probably talk about the dice mechanic. It's very simple. Everything you do, you roll 1d6, and the game master sets a difficulty from, I believe, 3 to 7 or 8 maybe. But that's just in certain situations where it's more difficult, the game master can encourage you to require to get help from the other players on the table or whatever.
I would say I am very excited to see more games geared towards children. So, we're getting to the point where we've done a lot of gaming. Most of our friends now have kids, and it's nice to have this available as an option. The other thing that this game does well, there's been some other games that we've picked up that are RPGs geared towards kids. This one does a good job kind of bridging that gap between board game and RPG. So it's rules light. The book is easy to read through. The scenarios are easy to run. So even if you're a parent without a lot of RPG experience, I think this is something that you could pick up and do with your kids and have a really great time.
That's something I will say is the book actually talks about if you're a parent that doesn't have any RPG experience at all. It explains how to play essentially an imagination game, essentially is what it is. So let's talk about what the game does well, specifically. I think it does a really good job of grabbing kids with the artwork and the simplicity of the mechanic and being able to explain to them to where it's complex enough to where our 5-year-old who understands, basic addition and subtraction I can tell him it's a difficulty 6. He rolls the dice. With a little bit of help, we might have to say, you add this to it or whatever. And he understands it very easily. So I would say that it scales very well. Not scales. I would say that it does very well with really young kids. I think that 5 is a real good number. And even, maybe with some help, you could probably do it with a 4-year-old. If they're
and depending on the kid.
Yeah, depending on them. But 5 for sure, I would say that you can easily do. And like I said, we play it with a 6-year-old and a 10-year-old. And our 10-year-old, he plays other games as well. He's been in some Fate games and some 5th edition games. But he still finds it fun because he's getting to play with his brother and sister. And it's something that they see us play all the time. So it's exciting for them because they always want to play games with us and that kind of stuff. So it's something that's their own game that only they play. So it makes it kind of special for them. Like I said, the artwork is just incredible. It's very well done, very well stylized to grab kids' attention. It's well produced. I feel like it's well thought out with kids in mind. The idea where you have the different levels of complexity I thought was great because something that would be complex for a 5-year-old I think would be too rudimentary and boring for a 10-year-old.
Adds a level of adaptability
mm-hmm.
to kind of grow with the kids too. So.
Right.
As far as drawbacks go, I would just say if I had a group of just solely 10-year-olds, I think we could play this game. But I think they might prefer something that is a little more complex.
Right. You might be able to use it for something if you have just 10-year-olds to use it as a way to introduce them into gaming. I think it might be a great way to kind of get the
new
basic
concepts
down if they were brand new gamers. But once they got it down, I'm not sure. I think that depending on the kids, they might want something a little more complex.
So I guess if you know a family out there that has some younger kids or some kids just getting into gaming, this would be an excellent gift to add to the Christmas list. And 'tis the season, right? And so yeah, basically any young kids, or if you have a mixed age group, it works very well for that.
Right.
Like we've got the spread, like you said, 5, 6, and 10. So the adaptability of the character sheets works well for that.
I will say after the first game. And like they were pretty excited about, because when we came home from Gen Con, our kids were very excited when they saw it. We showed it to them. They're like, "Oh, this is going to be awesome!" But they were very excited. And anytime we say, "Hey, we're going to play No Thank You Evil" or whatever, they are super excited to play it. I would like to think that's because of me running the game, but I mean it's a great game, especially for kids. As far as if you don't have a lot of time to prep, as a being parents and work and everything else that piles up. The scenarios are very simple, straightforward. It doesn't take a lot of prep. The first one I read like the night before because I had never seen it before. But the second scenario that I ran, I sat down maybe 15 or 30 minutes before we were going to play the game, read through it real quick, got the basic gist of it, and ran it without a problem, and it went really well. So it is a game that you might take a little bit of prep, but not a tremendous amount. And if you're an experienced game master, I feel like you could run this game off the cuff pretty easily and do a really good job. All right, so we're just going to briefly talk about the Kickstarter one I kind of see on here. As we record this, it actually hasn't dropped yet, so we don't know all the details. But as with any Amani Kickstarters, there's always a lot of stretch goals and a lot of cool things that happen with it. So one of the initial things that I saw is it's an expansion to it, and it's called Story Please. And it comes with several different categories of cards so that you can sort of deal out a adventure. So it has like a person who requests help, a map, an adversary, what they need, invitations, and different characters and that kind of stuff. So even if you needed to just come up with adventure off the cuff, this Kickstarter and this expansion looks like it's specifically designed for that. I believe also coming along with it is, I believe it's called Uh-Oh Monsters, and it comes with more enemies and adversaries and that kind of stuff to attack and deal with. So there's plenty enough in the initial game and the initial box to get you going indefinitely, essentially. But if you wanted to add to it, you could always, back this Kickstarter, or eventually when it comes out to the regular marketplace, you could get the additional decks and add them to your game as well. So I think that's it. Like I said, I'll link the game and the Kickstarter in the show notes. Is there anything else you got to say about it before we wrap up here?
I don't think so. It's a solid game.
Right on, yeah. So I agree. It's a great game. We seem to like it. Our kids like it. And I guess the one thing we can close with is we've got several role-playing games that are marketed towards younger kids. and I would say that this is probably the most developed and best one. I don't know if that's the right word.
Yeah, I would say it's the best one.
Okay, right on. Yeah, so there you go. from Lacey, the best. It has our. There you go. It's the first game to get our Just One More Fix endorsement. So it's approved by us and our kids. So go check it out, and I think that'll do it. Thanks for listening. This has been another episode of Just One More Fix. Music has been provided by Kevin MacLeod. You can find him at incompetech.com. You can find us at justonemorefix.com and follow us on Twitter at Just One More Fix.